Okay.
Hi, my name is Will Massey, and I'll be talking to you about solar energy. In my audience, I have my brother, Patrick, my mom, and my dad on the camera. Alright. So solar energy is a renewable energy. Among wind power, hydropower, geothermal energy, and biomass is a very big source of energy that's going to be a clean energy. Renewable energy is an energy source that is naturally replenished, meaning it will never run out. We will always have a place to get it, and it's not going to run out. So, fossil fuels has been taking over the energy market lately because it's so cheap, but it's very harmful to the environment. It causes global warming because of a greenhouse effect that it causes. The carbon emissions from fossil fuels go up into the atmosphere, and it does not let the heat escape back into the atmosphere. Another thing that's wrong with fossil fuels is they will one day cease to exist, meaning once we're out of them, that's it, they're all done. The good thing about renewable energy is it's non-polluting energy, so it's clean and it will never run out. So solar energy is any form of electromagnetic radiation that is emitted by the sun. So we can get solar energy whenever it's sunny out. You can harness that energy from the radiation of the sun. So the history of solar energy is, it dates back all the way to the BC era through early civilizations, and it was a huge part of their everyday life. They used it for religion, and they used it to determine when the seasons changed, when the best time to farm was, and even when the tides were going to come back in, the flooding, so that they can make a calendar out of it. And the biggest thing with Egypt too was the religion. They used it for pretty much everyday life. The first people who actually harnessed the radiation from the sun were the Greeks. The Greeks used houses and just things around their civilization that harnessed the use of the sun. Their houses were mostly open, like you can see in the picture. It's kind of hard to see, but they were open and they had thick floors and thick walls. These walls would take in the sun's radiation during the day, and at night when it got cooler, it would release the heat trapped in the walls and floors to heat up the house during the night. After the Greeks used solar energy, the Romans picked off where they left off. The houses and buildings all throughout the Roman civilizations were all oriented to the sun. They used the sun in a big way for heat in their houses. They made their pools, their public pools, use the sun's radiation to heat them up, and even the biggest discovery that they came up with was using glass windows to treat the heat, or to trap the heat. These are now called greenhouses, and we still use them today. So they would put all around a building or house glass windows. The sun's radiation would come in and trap it, so that would be able to heat up the house or buildings for a long period of time. Some of the early inventions that came through solar energy after the Greeks and Romans were solar-powered steam engines. These would power things such as newspaper presses and even smaller cars and whatnot. And then after that were solar water heaters. Solar water heaters, there was a lot of different types that they would make. Everyone would try to beat the last person in making a more efficient solar energy using making solar water heaters. And pretty much in the late time, they found out that solar energy was too costly, and they decided it was just cheaper for them and more efficient for them just to use fossil fuels and burn coal. Nowadays, in the modern day, there's three different types of solar energy that are the most popular. The first one's solar thermal conversion, solar houses, and solar photovoltaic cells. So the first one was solar thermal conversion. Solar thermal conversion would use thousands of mirrors all around a tower. These mirrors were directed where all the sunlight, all the radiation from the sun was going to go reflect back at the top of the towers. In the top of the towers they had long tubes, black, filled with water. Once the sun's radiation would hit these mirrors and hit the top of the tower where all the tubes were, this would cause the water to evaporate and make steam. The steam would then travel down the tower into generators, turbines, that would produce energy. The other type of solar energy technology that is used today is in solar houses. There's two types of solar houses. This one is the passive solar house. This one is the active solar house. The passive solar house uses a large amount of planning, and it has to be pretty much perfect to be efficient. It uses skylights, has energy-saving technologies inside. These skylights, like the Greeks would use, the floors, walls were all thick. These would trap heat during the day. At night, it releases out the heat to heat the house. The other type of solar technology was solar active houses. These houses have a collector on top. The collector would either have air or water in it. Once this air or water is heated, it moves down the pipes, and usually there's big containers in the basement. These containers will trap and store the heat until when needed. Throughout the house, when you turn on a faucet, when you want to have heat, you simply go down to the basement. It takes a little manual labor, unlike the passive house, but it's also a very efficient way to use solar energy in a house. Last solar energy technology that's really taking over the industry is solar photovoltaic cells. These cells you can use on their solar panels. They have many different layers, and these layers, it's two layers. One is made up of material coated with boron. This contains positive charges, and in the other layer it's semiconductors, right here. The semiconductors have loosely bonded electrons, and these two layers work together with light energy from the sun, referred to as solar photons. The photons from the sun are powerful enough to knock away electrons from the semiconductors, which are then attracted to the positive charges in the first layer. From there, the entire process is like an electrical circuit, so they work together to start to produce energy. In order to store the energy up, the group of cells are connected to a battery, which sends out the electricity to the whole house. And the cool thing about this is it's connected to power grid, so when you use less energy in your house than what you produce, then the electricity company will pay you back for it. If you don't use enough, if you use more in your house than what you produce, then you're simply billed for that. So it's a good way in either way. You can either be billed less than what it normally would be, and sometimes they pay you for what you produce, just by simply having solar panels and these types of cells. There's positives and negatives to solar energy. Positives are it is a clean energy, unlike the fossil fuels. It's unlimited amount of sun radiation that can be used as energy. But the negatives come. It does cost more than fossil fuels, which a lot of people have a hard time wrapping that around their head, even though it is more safe for the environment. And also another negative is the amount of sunlight varies day to day with clouds, weather. So that's the thing you do have to keep in your head. But the thing about the costs are coming down more and more because people are finding more efficient ways to use solar energy, so it's not as costly thing as it used to be in the past. And that is solar energy.